Now we're on Daf Nun Beis Amid Beis, on the second line. Yavilahu Zuzi Liasme Apei. There were those who gave most to the Yisomim in order to purchase payros from the Yisomim, but they didn't do a Mashiach. Iyaker. And now the payros went up in value, and the Yisomim want to back down from the deal. And there was never a Mashiach, so therefore, lo yehei koch hedjot chomer v'hegesh. So since when you purchase something from a hedjot, you could back out of the deal as long as there was no Mashiach, how much more so in the case of Yisomim, they could back out of the deal of selling their payros as long as there was no Mashiach. But Zol, if the payros went down in value, and now it's the purchasers who want to invalidate the sale, because at that price they can buy a lot more schara, a lot more payros. Once again, Savra Rab Chani bar Ilai, the Bar Idi, the Gemara in the Havamina thought that we should apply the principle of Rav Chani Ilai, and that would mean that the Konim cannot be Choser Bahem because they already paid Kesef and it has the status of Hegdesh, Amalu Rav Shisha Braid Rav Idi. That's a bad idea. And it works to the detriment of the Yisomim. Why? Let's say the Yisomim own payros, but they have a need to liquidate those payros because they need the money to buy food. Veleka diyavlu payri. Then no one's going to give them most until the Yisomim give them the payros, miyad liyad. Because if the payros go down, then the kona will not be able to be chozebo. Therefore, they didn't make this takana in such a case. Omer Rav Ashi, Anov Rav Kahana chasminin ashtar de'ime de'zeiri. I, together with Rav Kahana, says Rav Ashi, signed a shtar on behalf of the mother of Yasma, the mother of Zeiri, Yasma de Mizabna Ara lekarga below askarta. Normally, when there's a sale of property that belongs to a yasa, we need what's called a achrazta. However, these two Amoraim signed on a shtar machira for the mother of Zeira, who is a yasam, when she sold karka, his karka, meaning Zeira's karka, in order to pay a tax, and they completely circumvented the requirement of achrazah. And the Gemara says, why? The Amri Nardoi lekraga, because Nardoi said that if the purpose of this sale is to pay up taxes on behalf of the Yisomim, ulemizone, or to buy food for the Yisomim, ulekfura, or to pay for the burial of one of the relatives of the Yisomim, mazbinin below achrato. Achrata is a long process, 30 days and so forth and so on. We're going to shorten it for the urgency of the moment. On behalf of the Yisomim, we're going to circumvent the requirement of achroz. And here's the story. Amram Tzaba. Amram, apparently he was a painter. Apetropa di Asmihavi. He served as the official apetropos of Yisomim. Osu krovim lekami de Rav Nachman. The relatives of the Yisomim came to Rav Nachman. Amri, Kolovish u'michse miyasme. I can't understand it. We can't understand it. How could it be that Amram is wearing the garments that belong to the Yisomim? Amalu Rav Nachman says he's allowed to do so. Why? It's for the benefit of the Yisomim. Ki hechi dilishtamo and mili. When this apotropos, Amram Tzabai, is going to represent the Yisomim, if he wears these very fine garments, it makes an impression. It's like a status symbol, and people will take him seriously. And now the Krovim come to complain that he's eating and drinking from the possessions of these Somin. Now you could say maybe he's eating his own food and his own drink, but we know that he's not rich and he couldn't afford this kind of food. He must be taking from these Somin. And Rav Nachman responds, Eimer Mitzia Ashkan. Let's be dan l'kaf schus, and let's assume that Amram Tzabo won a lottery ticket. But he is now being mafsid. So he's being mafsid the nechasim of the Yisomim. Omaluhu, Rav Nachman said to the Krovim, Aisili Sadi de mafsid. First, bring me two witnesses that support your claim that he is ruining the sodos of the Yisomim, via Salkino, and then I will remove him from his status as an apotropos. The Omer of Huna, Chavrin, Mishmei de Rav, apotropos de mafsid misalkino le. An apotropos who's ruining the fields of the Yisomim, we remove him from his status as an apotropos. Ditmar, apotropos de mafsid. We have a machlokes between Rav Huna and the name of Rav, who says misalkina le, that we get rid of this, we fire the apotropos and we mafkia his status. However, the Beira, Mishilo Amri lo misalkina. We are not misalik. So I have here a very important note here in the name of the Shitas HaKadmonim, that if this apotropos is mafsid b'pshia, that everybody agrees, there's no debate about it, that we have to get rid of this apotropos. If on the other hand, the hefsid was ba'ones, on the other extreme, everybody agrees that ein misalkin also. The machlokes is in the case where there was no pshia and there's no onus. For example, asa shmira pchusa. The apotropos provided a low level of shmira. Like, for example, he didn't take their monies and bury it in the ground. He hid it in some place. So even though in this case he's only a shomer chida because he's not being paid and he'd be potter because there's no pshia, nevertheless, with regard to apotropos, we upgrade the apotropos to the status of a shomer sochar, and he has to pay for shmira pchusa. So therefore, since he has to pay, we understand Rav Huna says mesalkin also. The Hilchas we paskin mesalkin. Now the Mishnah quotes Rabbi the Tanakama, apotropos should be no avi so misha. That if the apotropos was appointed by the father during his lifetime, then at the end, the termination of the apotropos, he has to take a shvuah to the effect that he's not holding on to any of the nechasim of these my time. So Gemara explains why the apotropos has to take a shvuah. And after all, you might think that if the apotropos knows that he's going to have to take a shvuah, he will not agree to be an apotropos. My answer is, why is the person take upon himself the headache of being an apotropos? It must be that in the past he had benefits from the father of these Yisomim. And this is his motivation to become an apotropos and play that role. And therefore, Mishum Shvuah lo asil l'nuye, he is so motivated to serve as an apotropos because of all the benefits he got from the father of these Yisomim that Enochinami, he will not be deterred from taking this position because of a shvuah. And now the Tanakama says the following: Bezdin lo yishov. However, why would a person be motivated to serve as an apotropos of Bezdin? Nobody did him a favor. Milsa bi alma hudi avid lebeidina. This is a tovas china. The Ramis Halei he doesn't want to become an apotropos of Bezdin. He doesn't get any benefit out of it. They're not paying him a salary. And now they're telling him, yes, take a shvua. But Abba Shol, Omer Chiluf Advarim. My time, what's the logic of Abba Shol? We have such a solid logic of the Tanakama. And the Gemara answers, Minu Bezdin Yishava. Why is it in the case of his appointment, what benefit does he get by serving as an apotropos appointed by Bezdin? And the shvu is going to deter him from taking that role. And the answer is that even to serve as an apotropos of Bezdin without any payment, and there was no favor that the father did for Abed, he still is motivated to do so and play that role and take upon himself that responsibility, because the fact that Bezdin relied upon him and trusted him will enhance his reputation out there in the world. If Bezdin are relying on him and they're giving over the nechasim of Yisomim to his hands, then he is considered someone very, very reliable. He is so motivated to take upon himself the role of the Shliach Bezdin, the apotropos of Bezdin, that the shvua will not deter him, will not stem. However, Mino Avi Yisomim lo yishav, Milsa the Alma Hu the Avdi Ladadu. According to the understanding of Abba Shol, when a person volunteers to play the role as an apotropos because the father asked him to do so, and he accepts upon himself the responsibility of apotropos, it's not because the father had done any hanag gedola, he saved him from financial collapse. And therefore, Milsa the Alma Hu the Avdi Ladadu. It's just out of Ava and Reus that he took upon himself to play the role and be responsible in apotropos, and therefore you're going to stare him and deter him by telling him he's going to have to take a shvua at the end of his apotropos. According to Rav Chanan, we paskin like Abba Shol. So it means if he was appointed as an apotropos by Bezdin, he has to take the shvua. That's not going to deter him. But if he was hired by the father, then he does not, we alleviate him from a shvua. However, now we have a different psak. In a brisa, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Zev Yishon. According to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, both in the case of the Bezdin that appointed him as an apotropos, or in a case where the Avi HaYisomim appointed him, Yishava, he has to take a shvua, and we're not afraid that the shvua will stare him. And Allah Kidvar, we pass like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Tani Rab Tachlifa Bar Marava Kame to Rabbi Avo. Apotropos shemino Avi Yisomim Yishava mipnei shu nosei schar. The apotropos that was designated and appointed by the father in his lifetime is going to have to take a shvua like a nosei schar. A shomer sachar at the end of his period of shmira has to take a shvua. Now, apparently, when the father appointed the apotropos, he made an agreement with him that he would be paid. Omar Le, Rabbi Vo says, At Aisas Kaba V'Kailis Le. You brought a Kli Mida Achas, meaning a measuring cup. Uba Madadato L'Chol Apotropos Eschara. I mean, you're making an absolute statement that apotropos is being paid. That's not true. Not that he was actually paid. but that he is sort of like paying back the father for whatever good things the father did on his behalf. And therefore, it's like he is being paid for his shmira. And therefore, he has the status of a nosei skar, iskay v'shvu. And this brings us to the Mishnah of what's called hezek sheinu nikar on the bottom of Daf Nun Beis Amud Beis. That'll be our homework for Shabbos. So let me wish you a great Shabbos, and thank you so much for a full week of learning. We should be zocher to learn a lot of Torah.